province and the direction setting. And it's important because we will also have to look into the legislative agenda. The legislative agenda of the executive-legislative complementation process will also consider and take into consideration the executive agenda being discussed during our workshop. So it is important that the heads of agencies will be present. And then after that, I will consult the Vice Governor if they are available immediately after the executive-legislative workshop, so that the legislative workshop can happen. The legislative workshop can just be in a day. And it will be easier to develop our own legislative agenda if the legislators will see the inputs coming from the executive group. So it will be a strong executive-legislative complementation process, and the executive and legislative departments of the province will be guided strongly by the output of our workshops. And this will happen during the first days of July, that is 7 and 8, because we believe that doing these things will even facilitate our activities also in the provincial government. Then we would like to announce that there will be cluster heads in our provincial government. Cluster heads meaning every department has their own cluster. We just say, we don't have to call it cluster heads, but cluster coordinators. When you say cluster coordinators, in every department of the provincial government will have somebody who will be getting in touch with you, especially on comments that needs the action of the governor. The role of the governor is trying to make as versatile as possible, addressing health needs when he is not a doctor, addressing agriculture needs when he is not an agriculturist, addressing engineering needs when he is not an engineer. So we need our functional clustering to be able to assist the governor in making the right decisions, quick responses to the needs of our people. The clusters will be this way. For finance, Jerome Maniwang with the consultant, Tessie, will handle the provincial treasurer, the budget office, the accountant, and the assessor's offices. That is a cluster. Administration, the provincial administrator, although he has a direct supervision over all departments, will of course focus on these departments when there are issues coming out from these departments. Provincial Planning and Development Office, the Legal Office, HRMDO, the Peace and Order concerns. For Engineering and Infrastructure, Ben Redulia, who is also an engineer, will look into the provincial engineering, the motor pool, and the general services. And Economic Affairs and Welfare Services, Lisa Tirog is requested to look into Provincial Agriculture, Veterinarian's Office, Social Welfare Office, and the Health Office. This process is only to make sure that when there are vital decision-making to make in every department, the governor has already received inputs coming from both the head of office and the cluster coordinators. That way, we will make sure that every paper that you ask me to sign is already reviewed, studied carefully. As I've said, Edgar doesn't have a monopoly of good ideas. You have so many, all of you, down in the field. Labi na yung tunas mga kabarangayan ng trabaho. Kamu mo'y dunay mga inputs, the things that we need for the province of Bohol. So we are putting this all in writing, but I'm just explaining this to everyone. So the organizational setup was already explained to you, and then I already mentioned to you about the delegation of authority to certain persons. And of course, I would like to mention to you that the same practice of governors before, from Governor Chatto to Governor Lampagos, of delegating signing authorities, I have delegated that to two persons, A. Damalerio, the provincial administrator, and of course, Mr. Felix Meurada, of the governor's office. So the same signing authorities aron dili mo maglisod. Now, finally, this is one of the last points I would like to stress. I emphasized during the first MEB meeting that I reiterated an earlier memorandum issued under the Amentado administration through the provincial administrator then Handel Lagunay, when they issued a memorandum advisory dated May 17, directing all employees and department heads to return to their mother offices. During my first MEB meeting, I explained to the heads of agencies and offices that under my administration, my first day of office, I have issued a memorandum reiterating the same directive of Governor Amentado through Provincial Administrator Handel Lagunay. What does that mean? That only means simply all those assigned to stations where their appointments are not the original stations now that they're holding. I'm just requesting them, we are requesting them to return to where they are actually appointed. We are doing this not to disturb your comfort zones, kay kada usa nato naanad naman ta sa saat nag-assign, but to give flesh and meaning to the appointments that were given to each one of us. Nasabtan ba nato tanan? Kung asa ta na-appoint, adto sa kanito. And please, give us time. Usa ka buwan ra. Give us time to look into all this, kay tan-aw na mo og nahasibo ba gyud mo dito sa inyong gi-assign line officials and our employees, that we will make sure that every employee and every head of office will be placed where they should actually be. And it will be done in consultation with you. So wala na gingon og naay gipangbalhin kay unsa, pero ang ato ana gipahilo na lang nato og sa dapit gi-appoint. Kay the fact that you are appointed in those positions mean nga you applied for that position, you are qualified for that position, and in the first place, you wanted that position. Kaya ginawat man nimo ang appointment nimo dinha. So let us go back to where the books are. Unya og tan-aw nato nga naagyo kay rason later on nga makita nato in consultation with the agencies that functions will be better by moving, then we will decide later on. But we would like to see everybody in their proper places. And I have instructed the heads of offices because we will be meeting our MAB regularly, to give us feedback mechanisms all the time. When we visit your office, you can freely tell us what is the problem in terms of organization. In organizational development, the behavior of employees in each office is very, very important. That's why, like doctors, there are terms called organizational diagnosis. You diagnose the organization, not only the province, but every individual unit of your provincial government. So, with that, I think I have said more than enough to help us guide through our system. Ayaw lang mo katinga nga nataas-taas ko, dili ko inunanay mo diskurso kanunay, but I am just using the time that all of you are here. I know that not all the time we gather everyone, including our heads of the different hospitals. I was told by Dr. Kabagnot, kani ako ng atong heads of hospitals, I don't know if they're all here, then I would say that everyone is practically present. That's why I'm making use of this opportunity. I know that we cannot lump into one discussion like this all information dissemination. And I would like to just inform everyone that my office will be very, very open to discussions from every department. There are mechanisms where we institutionalize our consultation within the departments, within the provincial government, and we are putting in place mechanisms of regular consultations with the public and with the people, because that is the essence actually of governance. So with that, I would like to thank everyone for giving me your listening ears, karong buntaga, and I would like also just to make some few announcements. Ang heads of offices, gi-request nga after the convocation, we'll just stay for a while, na consultations nga himuon. And then after that, the heads of offices also are requested. I just talked with the Vice Governor who invited me tomorrow in their inaugural session. There is a SP session hall. all heads of agencies are requested to listen to our board members tomorrow as they deliver their inaugural speeches dito sa atong SP Session Hall. Heads of office lang.